Immigration is a hot topic these days, and while most people are focusing on our southern border, the U.S. government is quietly deporting Southeast Asian refugees, many who have been here most of their lives.
Deportation is going on a lot in the Southeast Asian community and is tearing families apart.
It's not gonna just impact one person. Like, yeah, one person is getting deported, but it's like the entire family, the entire community is shaken. And I am angry and I'm pissed.
A record number of Cambodians, many who came here as refugees when they were babies and youngsters, were deported in 2018. According to ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, the number of Cambodians sent back in 2018 rose 279% from 2017, and the community is feeling the impact.
Are people afraid, or are people nervous that, that they could be deported?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are nervous that they might get to be picked up because like little minor things that happen that they've done in their past, they can get picked up for that also.
Justin Shrey, whose mom fled Cambodia after watching the Khmer Rouge kill her entire family, is part of Mekong, New York's youth group, a nonprofit community organization. Recently, Mekong and other groups across the country held a week-long call to action to spread the word about the increased deportations in both the Cambodian and Vietnamese community.
Why is it important for you to be involved in this?
My community doesn't have a voice. I want to be a voice for my community.
While the media has focused mostly on immigration along the southern border, the Trump administration has been quietly deporting Cambodians and Vietnamese immigrants in record numbers. ICE is targeting former refugees with past criminal convictions, some decades old. While some are serious crimes, others are less so, including marijuana possession and DUIs, and all have already served their time. We reached out to ICE, but our calls were not returned.
You've served your time, but you still are issued a life sentence. I broke somebody's window, for example, right? I get a year in jail and I get released and I serve my time as a citizen, as a person contributing this country, and I'm still deportable.
Deportations of Cambodians started almost 2 decades ago. In 2002, the U.S. and Cambodia signed a repatriation agreement allowing refugees to be uprooted and sent back.
I'm an exiled American and I can't go home.
One of those sent back was Kosal Kiev, a refugee who fled the war and grew up in California. He served time for attempted murder.
He was a child. He wasn't thinking straight.
At this magnitude, it was his first time.
Kiev, now a poet in exile, is the subject of the documentary Cambodian Son, which was screened during Mekong's call to action. Kiev's story is now all too real for many who have found themselves on the deportation list, fearing they will have to return to a home country that really isn't home.
If a person who has no self-identity with respect to their home countries and they're in the United States as children, they've identified essentially as Americans. So when they return to their home country, it's highly likely that they can't really assimilate, like culturally, even if they spoke the language. The references culturally would be very foreign to them.
Liselle Cobrador is a New York-based immigration attorney. She said there is a real fear in the Asian community whether you are undocumented, here on asylum, or a refugee.
They're really scared that they're just going to be picked up. ICE will just knock on their door and put them in a van, or they're commuting and someone would just step in, or even like they're at work and someone would come in. But what I think is that's actually not unfounded, because these things happen today.
In fact, according to a Washington-based nonprofit, some 16,000 Southeast Asians have received the final order for deportation. Meanwhile, the Vietnamese community is also feeling the impact of changing immigration rules. Since 2008, Vietnamese war refugees were protected from deportation, but that exemption changed this past December, when the Trump administration announced ICE will now round up Vietnamese refugees with a criminal past. While most of the arrests are happening in states like California and Minnesota, where large pockets of Southeast Asians live, it's also happening here in New York.
Have there been deportations of people here in the Bronx?
Yes, there have been. And We are working on several cases right now, particularly the Vietnamese community. We have 3 that's been deported back to Cambodia. We have 5 cases that we're working on right now.
Chom, who has been a community organizer since she was a teenager, says the raids have triggered mental health issues in an already fragile community.
It triggers a lot of the anxiety and the fear, of losing your family once again.
More than 1 million Southeast Asians, victims of war and genocide, were granted asylum and resettled in the U.S. in the 1980s. It was part of the largest resettlement program in U.S. history. Many, especially the Cambodians, Laotians, and Hmongs, resettled in some of the toughest areas in the country. The community, already reeling from war back in their native country, found themselves in the U.S. struggling. The Cambodian community has one of the highest dropout and unemployment rates in the Asian community. And now, the deportations.
It's this sense of just never feeling like you're at home. But this has always been home for us because this is all we know. For people my generation who came as baby refugees, the United States is home. We don't know any other home.
I'm Ernabel Demillo for Asian American Life.